Well, hello, welcome to Dan's Place, and thank you for joining me today. May I begin by letting everyone know that I'm a person of faith, so my comments today are reflective of my study and my personal desire to be the best representative that I can be of my faith. No, not perfect, but attempting to be faithful. And I hope that resonates with some of you. So let's talk about forgiveness today if we can. Forgiveness is defined as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or a group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve it or not. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing the offenses. Ask anyone you meet if they've ever been hurt by another person, physically or verbally, and you'll hear a resounding, yes, absolutely. Now ask how they handled that hurt, and you'll hear many different stories. Stories about resentment, revenge, depression, anger, sadness, but few stories about forgiveness. My question is, why would anyone want to hold on to pain, especially if they don't have to? What is it in our nature that harbors ill feelings or holds on to past pain? Scientific studies show that holding on to emotional pain will manifest in physical illness. Disease has been linked to our mental well being, if indeed we have the power to heal ourselves. As some medical professionals suggest, where do we start? That's a great question, isn't it? And it must start with the way we think. And it must begin with self forgiveness. You see, if you're unable to forgive yourself for wrongs you have done, then it is highly unlikely that you will ever get to the place that you'll be able to forgive others. Now, this is a much deeper subject, and I'll not dig into it today. Perhaps we'll revisit again at some other time. But forgiveness is an intentional act of your will. Some call it letting go. Others call it forgiving. Forgiving someone doesn't mean denying the other person's responsibility for hurting you. Forgiving someone isn't excusing the act. And forgiving is not an act of weakness, but rather real strength. Forgiveness is a practice of creating compassion, empathy, kindness, and peace. And let me say it once more, forgiveness begins with you. Holding pain inside becomes the breeding ground for negative feelings. Then those negative feelings will come out and manifest through anger, resentment, and even the desire to seek vengeance. Negative feelings also keep us from enjoying the present. Those feelings have a tendency to turn into depression and anxiety, ultimately sabotaging those close relationships that we hold dear, and then sequestering our present and the future in the darkness of heartbreak from the past. Now, I'm not suggesting that we have forgotten or that we should forget, only that we cannot allow the past to keep us from living today and preparing us for our preferable future that has not yet been determined. Whatever you focus on expands and grows. Where your focus goes, energy flows. May I suggest that we feed our faith and starve our fears? Whatever you feed is destined to grow. Now, once again, I'm not suggesting that we will ever get rid of all of those negative emotions. However, when you feed your fears, you get stuck. And stuck stinks. Yeah, I said the word stinks. But what I am proposing is that practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is about commitment to change. Okay, not for you perhaps, but for me. I can't speak for you, but isn't it time that we begin moving away from the trap of being a victim and take a more proactive and positive stance on individual well-being and become a victor instead of a victim? Shouldn't we begin moving toward a more peaceful and enjoyable life? I admit, certain acts seem unforgivable. And just for a moment, place yourself in the other person's shoes. Consider how you would react or how you would have behaved if that had happened to you. Then I want to encourage you to accept this fact that we are all human. And on occasion, we also have imperfections in us, right? Here it is. I hope you're ready for it. We are all perfectly imperfect. With any decision to make a change, I recommend using the use of a journal. It's an easy way for you to begin to document and reflect on your private feelings. And this in turn will help us to begin to move toward an emotional health that is connected to forgiveness. Let me just kind of wrap things up and say it this way. Forgiveness is within you. It's really an inside job. Please be aware, there are no guarantees that it will change the offender or their future actions towards you. And therefore, it is important for us to know that forgiving someone may not give us the immediate outcome we desire. This is an internal practice that will ultimately change us. And that in turn will change our external world. And it is a personal practice and certainly not a means of changing someone else. The old song that we used to sing, "It's not my brother or my sister, but it's me, O Lord, that's standing in the need of prayer." Certainly our world needs prayer today. And if you're a person of faith, I ask you to agree with me in prayer that we will enter into the place of forgiveness for those around us and those that have harmed us and hurt us, so we can move forward and upward to the best version of our world that can be. May God bless you, and whatever you do, keep the fire burning. Until the next time, this is Dan Caldwell saying, my favorite book says, forgive and you will be forgiven. God bless.